Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle DeCuyan. I'm the executive director of the Poetry Project at St. Mark's, and it's a great pleasure to be with Lynn Hejinian, Jerome Rothenberg, and Anne Tardos to celebrate Anne's newest book, The Exploding Nothingness of Never Define, for the Poetry Project's winter issue of House Party. For decades, Anne Tardos has been a great explorer of lexical frictions and fulcrums, multilingual, ardent, and inquisitive, a collector and great assembler of language matter across political, material, and daily dimensions. There's an exuberance and acrobatic sense of possibility to Anne's poems, and we couldn't be more pleased and grateful to experience this work in the company of Lynn Hejinian and Jerome Rothenberg. We'll hear from Jerome Rothenberg first, followed by Lynn Hejinian, and then Anne Tardos will close us out with a selection of poems. I'll turn things over now to Jerome.
This is a reading for Anne Tardos, who has been a treasure in our lives and in the life of poetry. Anne Tardos, whose poetry and performances have delighted me for several decades now, emerges in her new book as the innovator of a work that incorporates, like the best of our poetry, a full range of thoughts and experiences and makes them stick in the mind and in memory. The exploding nothingness of never define is her complex, often surprising meditation on poetry and life that starts with a series of takes on the idea and image of the poet and goes on to make something new, delivered with a true poet's intelligence, the pride of lived experience, she says, and wanders wide awake and dreaming, searching for new and old places and faces to observe and call to life. So from the beginning of the book, a reading of several sections focusing on the poet. The poet writes dactylic syllables 8 times, lovingly but like a shadow, consented and conceived of melodious French and English conceived through itself and others. To cheer up the text, negating its most indifferent nature, as many women turn to nobility and tact. The enclosure of freedom was at its most indifferent. Water didn't show such conditions of breaking out or inhabiting or developing a dynamic understanding. Okay so far, inevitable writing, no comments so far from narrating. I have ruined, but lovingly, the dynamic of syllables and dactyls in narrating, and look up next the dynamic of understanding. Tenacious, tenant, loving and conceived and consenting, contemplating death I have. Then they ever okay, so I don't, do not. But I write syllables, dactyls 8 times, lovingly, call the dynamic understanding tenaciousness. But I write syllables and dactyls 8 times, most lovingly, thinking in language by applying melodious French and English, a new day here, between a disturbance and a cheer, between a dinner and all the slights, between a story and many women. I see I stood up for many women, inhabiting okay so far, so that okay, good. I have learned okay so good I did because my survival is writing. You will see, I awoke from much celebration, you will see. Celebrated, you're supposed to intentionally leave much celebration, Spinoza said. Women turned the pump that could accommodate a new writer or something new, like thinking of love, until the larger, more than wanting, but hidden behind the static while time had to task editing and getting off took a jolt to cheer up. Never developed to an abstraction as easily as remaining loyal to the healthy specimen, loyal, but then I had to leave a distance from the cold, and women have bravely moved from an inner organ that must overwhelm some women who turn the demons, the famous Chinese inner organs that have consented. So I write a joyride, inky, infinity, infantilizing, insight. Never learned to be a transformer. Feelings come out of time, she adds. She loves the tenacious lodger at any point in itself, and men are not hidden behind my temple, only the mind's password, behind my very concept of all this love, followed by many women who are into preservation and others who write in an effort to survive. I write something new. Philosophy touches all I inhabit. I write. Alone at last. Alone at last, me and this page, this white glow of imaginary paper, ready and gleaming and expecting the onslaught of word constructions, manipulations, prestidigitations, accommodating distinctions between thought and sound. Tense moments, rainfall, climbing up to the roof, steady rain drops, no less, no more, someone floating in a pool, swimming pool, madness, a photo, a disc, a drawer that opens and closes, the heart beats. The girl upstairs is sobbing, broken, dismal, solitary alleys, dismal, solitary library on a Sunday, separated from most people most of the time, but all that is in the past. The sun is shining now, and you are by my side. A bench in a park, a kiss, no dogma, no creed. Lay it on thick. Watch the movie. Let's take a look. Let's have a chat. It's over. No, it's not. Words on a page. Words on a page, page on a desk on a floor, the earth's inner core on my mind. Words on my mind, page on a desk on my mind, page on my mind on a desk, fuzzy-minded thinking, storm in the brain, neurons on the edge of chaos, a state of unease, immense possibilities, a procession of words, privacy and quiet, absolute tranquility. Lock the door. Quiet, absolutely lock the door. Tranquility, lock the door. Lock the door. Thank you, Ann Tardos.
Yes, and happily, the door has not been locked. Anne is still with us. It's such a joy to participate in the celebration of the new, beautifully produced book, and to share in making some of that poetry audible on this occasion. So for you, Anne, and for all who love Anne and her work, I'm going to begin with a poem titled In the Living Room. Visions are resting until they are written. You ask, you write the words, going through the ritual of deciding which words to avoid the most. You finish the poem directly. You write incessantly, run into some remarkable teachers. Your notions become formatted. You receive a letter from a friend. Focus on the letter. Focus on a phrase. Written incessantly until several hours left for editing while there is nobody home. Your brain secretes your ideas. In the living room, words you ask, well, yes, what notion? And then you delete most words. Then you ask how to let the paper decide which words to delete. with no way around writing in the hours left. Inventing a human with words. Which words? Which words does the brain secrete? Living our own way in the hours left. We write the first phrase on a page filled with good intentions, curl up and sleep another night, another thing we learn to do. The need to occupy the restless brain with doings, amusements, reading, and understanding. The need to observe, filled with distraction. We let the paper watch the lives of others. What notions? Well, yes. What is flowering? Well, yes. What is overflowing? The need to compose each page, reading and sleeping. Another night we can talk. Here as elsewhere. Unemployable, acrophobic acrobats and their shaggy pet orangutans, convincingly docile, long faces. Why the beach feels good. Born at age 0, staying at 0, still. Infinity plus infinity equals infinity. Infinity minus infinity is harder to answer. It feels good. Fearless kangaroos near a paragraph, napping near a peach, contemplating fuzzy math. Lake, loon, swoon, swan, an emotional oasis, an island of repose by a digital lake. Glah, glow, glee, glue. How beautifully is that said? My mind is consistently elsewhere as here, consistently here as elsewhere. First things first. Answers are like eagles and goofy looking birds, but also like unfortunate, peculiar simulacra who know the blue. Knowing the blue, looking for the artist's solitude, nowhere a bird that rests on a rough blue. Nowhere first looking birds, but things, first things. Looking nowhere, first things, first things. Looking for an answer that comes. Others look terrified in a large group. Others are terrifying in their fierce build. But also how to question the world. The blue of solitude. Bird resting has a question, the question of the blue. Answer comes, first things first, first things, without a rough blue, eagles and other large groups look at other birds who also question the world. These are simulacra. The peculiar simulacrum of a bird is looking at the artist's solitude, bird that rests on a rough branch, looking for an answer, how to question the world. These are first things, looking for an answer without a branch. And finally, from my selection of poems that I wanted to read on this occasion, a poem titled, wonderfully, Chaos. Chaos frees you up from prearranged notions, exhilarating notions. You choose. Security, a dramatic invention that frees you up from quotidian ways. Chaos, where it is safe. In quotidian, prearranged notions that help exhilarating chaos, where it is safe. Offering a necessary dramatic invention frees you up from notions that help you choose a dramatic invention. Quotidian inventions free you. Thank you.
I don't see myself. Am I on? I unmuted. Let's see.
You're good, Anne.
Oh, okay. Now I see you, but not me. All right. If I'm good, I'm good. Well, thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Lynn, for this wonderful reading, for joining me on this little celebration. And thank you, Kyle and the Poetry Project. And also thank you to Michael Byron for editing the book. It's a complex undertaking because of the many forms and intentions therein. So I read a representative selection from The Exploding Nothingness of Never Define. The accident, a remarkable incident, an enormous thing, like a spindle-shaped apparition with surprising powers of locomotion. All kinds of stories were circulated regarding this legend of ancient times. Unending arguments, unending arguments, drawing blood. It was a scientific problem to be solved. The accident happened about 5 o'clock in the morning. Careful attention was paid to violent agitation. At 17 minutes past 4 in the afternoon, communication would become more and more dangerous. Veracity could not be doubted. The absence of presence, the blank page, the white space, the unimaginable imagined. Reviewing what already happened in order to define a present, which everyone knows does not, cannot exist. The always already absent present. Just ask Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. An insinuation of writing, the exclusion of writing without writing, the origin, function, and meaning of writing, the gesture of writing. Internal formations. Existence is a garment which one day will gently let go of constriction. My internal formations, like a garment which one day will become unwearable, like a fluke, used, so frayed, so frayed, so frayed, so tattered, ragged and dilapidated that by shedding, it will become unwearable. It will be so dilapidated. Gently releasing the constriction of inner formations of my body, not mine. The hookah, a graceful zigzag, another moment, and the little girl and the number of changes that day. The serpent sternly explained how she changed several times. I'm very sorry you've been annoyed. The caterpillar's hookah delighted Alice. Someday you ought to open, said the caterpillar, to get into her arms. Quietly asked her how to balance kindness. Perhaps she balanced an encouraging opening. There was silence for some minutes. Silence. And then there was another moment. the slender fly. I confine myself to a theory as plausible as long, a place just within scientific research at the height of the imagination. I confine myself to my office while the ocean classifies my departure. A museum of colossal strength, astonishing expeditions lasting 6 months. An expedition to see the sea unicorn, great depth of botanical and zoological riches laden with success, with pleasure, living days in reality. I read and reread for myself about all living kinds. This slender fly who had seen the unicorn, a mystery puzzling certain naturalists who saw the impossibility of designing an instrument required to question, interrogate the slender fly. I'll finish with rage culture. Anti-intellectualism, military supremacy, symbolic rights, shared vocabularies, all wasted to rage, to blow off steam, to engage in destructive ritual, blowing off. Where is civility, responsible behavior, thoughtfulness? Where is the culture of thinking, reading, listening? Thank you.